Hey everyone, welcome back to Heather's Mixed Media Studio. Clearly, I'm in the middle of a project. I take part in the Makers of Mixed Media Art and Artists Makers Collage prompt. And the prompts for February were beverage, feathers, hometown, scales, and graffiti. And I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off because I was hoping to hear back from my hometown's public library, historical society, business association, because I was trying to remember a specific business that used to exist in that town. And so that's what I'm collaging today. I never did hear back from any of those entities. I take that back. Their Better Business Bureau or Commerce, I can't remember what it's called. They got back to me and confirmed that the business did exist. I'm not crazy. So that was helpful. But I was trying to get a photograph of it so I could represent it as, possibly accurate as possible. I never ever heard back with a photograph of anything. So this is me recreating it out of whole cloth. It might have looked nothing like this, which is fine. It's going to have to be fine because I never heard back from anybody. So the business was called the Red and White. That I can confirm. And I recall it having a red and white striped exterior. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. So anyway, that's what I'm doing right now is I am doing the February challenge because I waited too long and now it's March. But I want to get it done because I also want to do March. Now, do you have to be a ridiculous completist like that? No, nobody over there is going to judge you or care one way or the other. But I care. For me, I want to know that if I'm going to do the thing, I want to go all in on the thing, So that's what I'm doing tonight while you guys are watching the video. It's kind of late. I think it's 11 or 12. I don't know what time it is. I went out earlier today and acquired a bunch of art supplies. So hopefully I will have the wherewithal to remember to put the pictures of those supplies right here so that you can see what I ended up with. I went to my local craft resale shop and got a bunch of items there for free, which was cool. So I'll show you a photo of those. Hopefully, if I figure out how to put those in. They do both free supplies of things they're trying to get rid of. They also have supplies that you can pay a sliding fee scale for of things they have too much things that they're selling that they want you to purchase. So I did purchase a couple supplies there. My craft buddy Janet went with me and we ended up at the local Goodwill, which has a nicely curated craft supply area. I bought 2 little books from there that'll eventually get altered in some, hey, let's alter a book kind of way. So yeah, it was cool. We did a whole day of, well, not a whole day, multiple hours of being out shopping for craft supplies and practicing restraint, which I don't recommend. Restraint is highly overrated. You should surround yourself in things that make you happy. And for me, that is craft supplies. Which reminds me, I need to tell you about the cool thing. She and I used to work at the same big data financial firm, and when I worked there, they had a really good HR. They treat their humans like humans and not like, modern day slavery. They do a really good job with their humans, which is nice. I have to tell you about the thing they're doing with their humans currently because it's really astoundingly cool in a way that most companies are not capable of being astoundingly cool. They are currently considering your crafts and your hobbies as mental health needs. And so if you garden, for example, you can deduct $400 of your gardening expenses. They will reimburse you for your gardening needs because they want their staff to be happy and healthy and well. And I'm kind of astounded by that. So you could do $400 worth of your craft supplies, worth of your gardening supplies, whatever it is that you do to keep you happy and healthy, they're happy to reimburse for. And I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. I don't know of any company that does that other than that company. I'm still grateful I don't work there, but that is the coolest perk I've heard of in a very long time. So she was telling me about that today, and I'm like, that's really cool. So yeah, if you have any sway over your HR department, see if they can get a mental health reimbursement for people's hobbies. Because really it's hobbies that are keeping most of us sane these days. So yeah, doing collage stuff is not a native skill of mine, and collaging architecture even less so. But that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to get the facade of a building from memory of a building that may or may not have ever looked like this building. So that's fun. I'm not going to use that scrap. I'm going to use this scrap. And I had to dig through my scrap bins to see if I even had anything red. I don't actually have much in the way of red. The scraps you're seeing on my desk right now, that is the sum total of reds I could find. And this one's actually more orange than red. And this was the back cover of my Teamsters manual. So, you know, found, tore off a cover of something I probably should have left whole. Whatever. Whatever. I'm trying to think of what else has been going on lately. Oh, right. So we went to the Goodwill and checked out their whole nicely curated craft section. I really do like the way my local Goodwill handles their craft supplies. They do a really good job. And then we went to Michael's, as one does, and spent too much money, as one does. I did end up getting some actual, paid too much money for them art supplies. And that's not true. I'm sure they were worth exactly what I paid for them, but it still feels egregious to pay Michael's prices after you've been to the craft resale store and the Goodwill. But I picked up more watercolor paper because I was running out, and I picked up a gray and a brown fine liner because I had discovered a need for those a while back and hadn't taken the time to go do anything about that. And then, goodness, what else did I do? What else did I get? Oh, I picked up some golden retarder because I think working with open paints is really helping the problem I'm having with all of my folk art paints. They dry way too fast. So I think that's some of the problem I was having with gel print pulls, is that I needed paints with more open time. And the amount of open time you need is going to depend on how fast you work. I love watching Darcy Sanders because she works so fast, and I just don't work that fast. So, maybe I will someday after I've learned how to do that, but that's not today. I need to do a little bit on the bottom here, and decide how much of the sidewalk I want on either of these, because we're looking at the corner of the building. That may not be obvious because you don't live in my head. And I do have a sketch of what I want this all to look like. I left the sketch in my van. So, what are you going to do? So I got to set a limit for how, maybe I'll make a limit out of paper. Is that long enough? Yeah. And then I can do the little scrappy bit after that. Because like I said, this is approximately what the building, I think, might have looked like when I was 7, probably the last time I saw it. The business doesn't exist anymore, although I think the structure still does. But since I can't remember exactly where it was located, that doesn't really help me a whole lot. Yeah, so we'll do this kind of thing on all of the windows. Get all the glue off my desk. So yeah, we'll do that over here and over there, and that way I can keep the framing the right size. And it'll make doing the bottom part easier. So this is the part of the prompt that's going to be hometown for me, because this building represents hometown for me better than anything else I could think of would. Right, I was in the middle of telling you what the red and white was. The red and white was a business in the town that I lived in until I was 7, and it was basically a knockoff Dairy Queen. If you can imagine a company that did everything Dairy Queen does, but did it with like the 4 years ago Dairy Queen paper products, that is kind of how this company operated. Now, how that was legal at the time, I have no idea. Maybe that's why they went out of business. I don't know. But they were there throughout my childhood, through the 70s into the 80s. I'm not sure when they closed. I stopped going back to the community when I was probably 13, so that would have been 84. How much longer it existed after 1984, I don't know. And like I said, I'm pretty sure the building's still there. It's just not that anymore. It's either a bakery or a balloon shop, based on my Google sleuthing. But yeah, it was a fun, friendly, like a Dairy Queen kind of. You go there, you get your soft serve ice cream, your burger and your fries, your hot dog, and you'd sit around in the booths or hang around outside depending on the weather. And it was on the main drag through town. There's a state route that goes through the middle of town. And yeah, at the time the town had no stoplights. It either had no stoplights or one stoplight. It probably has a few more than that now because they have more traffic now. And they have continued to grow. The year that my sister would have started high school, if I'm remembering the timeline right, is when the high school opened. Before that, all the grades were in one large building. It wasn't a single room schoolhouse. It was they had taken the single room schoolhouse and added a wing to the left and the right. And so you had your lower grades on the far side and your upper grades on the other side. And then it outgrew that building, and so they had just built the high school when my sister would have been entering high school. I never saw that part. I was only there for K through 1. So then we moved. But at any rate, it was that kind of, small town sort of thing. Closest towns were 3 miles and 5 miles away. We didn't have any fast food joints in town. That was not a thing. I suppose I could go that way with it. That would make as much sense as anything else. The closest fast food restaurant was an A&W. The McDonald's and the Walmart that eventually came in didn't come in until the 2000s, thereabouts. And again, they're not in this tiny town. They're in the tiny town next door, which is the county seat. So Yeah, it's a different place. Now, most of my formative years were spent in the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio. Um, but I never considered that hometown in that way. Um, that was more like a sentence that I had to endure until I was old enough to leave. And I think my sister felt much the same way. He's like, this is not home. Now, mind you, I didn't necessarily consider. I'm sorry, telling you my hometown. I didn't consider my hometown to be my hometown either, because I didn't really grow up there the way my sister did. She definitely had, friends there and hobbies there and memories there, and I didn't really have any of that. But I did go back every summer and Christmas to hang out with my grandparents. So it's still an uh, important part of my childhood. It's just not the formative part of my childhood. I'm trying to find some more reds that I can use there. Yeah, that'll do some of it anyway. Whale nuggets. Whale nuggets. Yes, my technique is to just put it in place and cut it close enough. Because this is just supposed to be art and not, therapy. Maybe it's both. And it's a much bigger scale than I usually work at. I like working at the 2.5 by 3.5 size, but I'm trying to get used to doing some things in a bigger size because these makers collages, they're just easier to do at more of a 5 by 7 kind of scale. So I am trying to do that. What about that one? Yeah, that's probably better. Yeah, that's better. Now I could just leave the background on these, because the paper is white, but it's not white enough. The paper's kind of an off-white, and this business was like hardcore red, white. Now, could you tell that after all the years of whether they repainted it or not? I have no idea. It was just a fun place to go when I was a kid. But my grandparents would drive us to the red and white, or not the red and white, hello, work with me, glue stick. The A&W also. We would go on Sunday drives, was a thing my grandfather liked to do. And so when we'd go on the Sunday drives, we would usually wrap up the Sunday drive by stopping at A&W and getting a root beer float or an ice cream cone or, whatever we were getting into that particular time. And so I remember, good things like that. It was a good time. And I loved that set of grandparents. They weren't without their flaws, like most family members. But it was a good time. So I don't know, what all have you been getting up to? I know the folks over at Makers of Mixed Media and all have been, it's beginning of the month, and so they're dealing with beginning of the month stuff, meaning the March mixed media combo came out today, and the color combo came out today, and what else would have come out today? Everything came out today, and I was busy. I was out shopping and sleeping, and that's the thing that I did when I got back. I went directly to bed. Do not pass go. I've been having some leg pain. New. That happened during my workday on Friday. For no good reason, my left leg just decided it wanted to nope out of the whole process. I'm like, well, all right then. And so a lot of Saturday and part of Sunday has been spent trying to get that leg back to work so that I can go to work with it on Monday. There we go. Now we got the side. Just got to do that with this other side here. Probably it would be faster if I laid down one red thing. Whatever. It's fine. That's a thing that one of the other regulars says, it's fine, it's fine. And it reminds me of a comedian, probably George Carlin, who said, BS, hair's fine. Like, all right. But I try not to say that out loud to people because people are used to saying it's fine. And, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to use this. It's way too orange. Which means that I am now relegated to using this and this for my reds because that's all the red I have left. It's fine. Maybe I will use just this one here because that one's red enough. Yeah, cut that off. Cut the orangey bits off. All right, it'll do. All right, maybe I cut that orange part off too. That's red enough. All right, I have a couple of scraps. Yay. All right. And this was just an index card that was hanging out on my desk, and it's done most of the white business too. Yeah, I'm not going to cheap out at this point. In for a penny, in for a pound. And part of why I'm putting all the white down that I am is that one prompt that's graffiti, I need to have a place to put the graffiti. Now, some of these things, man, I take that back. I want to draw things into this because it's easier for me than collage, but the whole point of this is to do collage. So maybe I won't draw anything. Maybe I'll actually do the collage like this is supposed to be. I suppose that makes more sense now, doesn't it? All right, you get on there. Nope, the angle's wrong. Let's see, anything else interesting going on? No, not that I can think of. We're just gonna sit here and art and maybe not talk. Maybe I'll put music. Oh, that's a thing I can talk to you about, because I've been wanting to talk to you guys about this anyway. Those of us who watch art channels, things like Carrie the Crafter's channel, or PM Artist Studios, or Shanuki Arts, or Darcy's Misadventures in Mixed Media, or Eddie Makes Art, or any of these different content creators who are out there doing mixed media, gel prints, watercolor. I'm thinking Rebel Unicorn, Andrea Nelson, all of these people. Those of us who watch those channels, we know about the art that they're doing, the watercolor, the whatever, because that's why we're there. That's why we're watching the channel. But I want to point out another thing that they're doing that they're not talking about, and that is the art that they're doing that is being a content creator. If you decide at some point in your life that you want to make videos and upload them to YouTube, or wherever. It can be really simple, but most of these people have a much more elaborate thing going on. And this is true of all your content creators on YouTube in particular. And I can speak to the YouTube one because I've been a content creator there now for almost 2 years. I realize not with this channel, but with my previous van life channel. It was about 2 years worth of doing it over there. And there's a lot that goes into that. You've got to have some video editing software. You've got to learn how to use it if that's not a thing you've ever done before. You got to learn how to cut out things like the segments you recorded that didn't go right, or that you didn't like what you said or what you filmed or how you filmed it or the ratio you filmed it in. You have to make a lot of decisions about, am I going to put text in here? Am I going to put music in here? And you're trying to do all this in service, potentially in service of your art, but more likely in service of your audience, because you want them to have a good experience, especially if your goal is to monetize eventually. You want to make sure that when people come to your channel, they see a professional production. And so if you're a one-man band, as it were, like I was during all of my van life recording, I know Carrie is a one-person production. I think Eddie is also, Darcy seems to be. P&M, they've got some folks helping them out. Brad, I think mainly, I'm not sure who else. And I don't know how much of it they do themselves and how much of it he does. Can't speak to that, don't know. But when you're doing the one-man band person, you're the script writer, you're the production manager, you're the editor, you're the person who goes in and makes sure the speed's right, the frame rate's right. You're the person who's doing the posting to YouTube, where you have to make sure you've got a title and a description and tags, and you put it in the right playlist, and you've got all your content bits in order. And I think a lot of times when we're watching these art people doing their art thing, like collage or gel prints or watercolor or whatever, we're so focused on that type of art that they're doing, because that's why you went to their channel in the first place. But you're not noticing the other art they're doing, which is the content creation art. And I just want to say, if you get a chance, the next time you're watching somebody's videos, it doesn't have to be mine. This is not a, please talk to me, I'm so lonely. This is just pay some attention to the creative people whose channels you watch and give them a little shout out for the smoothness of their videos, the way they are able to speak for 2 hours and say something of content worth listening to. How they are able to articulate themselves without using or on a regular basis. How you appreciate that they describe things well in their description box, that you like that they put timestamps in, that you like that they have their playlists curated. Whatever it is about their actual content creation that you admire, appreciate, respect, whatever the word is. I'm just saying that whatever content creators you watch, go out and let them know that you've noticed the level of art and artistry they're bringing in as content creators. Because I think a lot of us don't really pay too much attention or put much thought into it, and your content creators are generally not going to mention it, because that's the hidden magic behind what they're doing. They're putting all that time and effort into there, but they don't want you to notice it. And I'm calling attention to it because they can't. You're not supposed to notice all that behind the scenes mumbo jumbo that they're doing to make smooth content. Because if you're paying attention to how smooth their channel is, then you're not paying attention to the art that they're doing right in front of your face. So it's kind of like a magic trick. And I just want to make sure that when you get a minute, you actually talk to them on their, whatever their thing is, and say, hey, thanks. I noticed that you do a really good job with this piece, and I just wanted to point it out to you that you're really good at that. So yeah, your artists are doing two arts right in front of your face, and they can't tell you about the one because that's the magic trick, is making sure you don't notice it, that it's seamless. Mine's not seamless, and I don't care if you notice it, and I'm happy to talk about it. Um, so yeah, content creation, yeah, mixed, not mixed media, it's not the word I want. Um, Content creation as an art form itself, that's what I'm saying, is an art form itself. And some folks are really good at it. They make sure they have good lighting so that you can see the product. They make sure there's not shadows. Sometimes they'll talk about it. I know Carrie mentions his stuff occasionally, but not in a notice how good a video creator I am, but more in a he's talking to himself about how he doesn't like, the lighting or the shadows or the whatever that particular day. I'm like, look, this is the lighting I have. This is the lighting you get. So there you go. All right, I have now got the building done, and I have to decide how I'm going to do the interior. I need to make sure I've got beverage, feathers, hometown scales, and graffiti. The graffiti part, I think, is going to be the easiest part, and that is going to get drawn on. I want to put a scale here, and I don't know if I have anything that can act as a scale. So let me take a look through some image books. I have this one I just got recently, and I'm hoping to find something scale-like in here. It's got that old-timey feel, kitschy business that I might luck out. And if not, I will draw one and stick it in. I'm glad I picked up this book. There's some really neat images in it. They're just not the image I need right this second. Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Apparently we're going to draw one because they don't have one. That's fine. That was the only place where I was like, that was the place I was the most likely to have one. It doesn't have one. So we will just draw one. It'll be fine. We'll draw it in silver because that's a thing. And so this is one of those scales that you would see outside. They had a post that came down, and then there was a little platform here that you were supposed to stand on. They use these at carnivals for the guess your weight game, I'm going to put two little footprints here to try and make it, obvious what you're supposed to do here. All right, they might look like peanuts, whatever. I'm not worried. Give it some depth. Get this edge some depth. Put a little doohickey there. I don't know what the doohickey is. Just pretty sure it used to be on these. And then it starts at 0. This one's probably not 100 would be too light. So 150. This is then 75. 225. There you go. And I might own a red pen. Maybe. And that way we can put a little red arrow here because nobody's standing on it right now. There we go. There, it's a scale. I know that wasn't the scale they had intended, or because I think they were thinking fish scales. I don't care. This is the scale I'm going with because it met my hometown aesthetic. Although, to be fair, my hometown is the sort where trout fishing was a common hobby too. So I could have gone with a trout, but yeah, I didn't want to. Not a trout kind of girl. So yeah, a lot of you do fussy cutting, and the best way really is to just keep your scissors in one spot and rotate your paper. And you can do just about any fussy cutting you need to do with great big scissors just like these. And then you just, move your paper wherever you need it to be. Give it a little turn. So yeah, you don't have to use hand cramping tiny scissors to do fussy cutting. You can absolutely do them with great big chonky scissors like these. Alright, now I got my scale. That's going to go right there. Like I said, I did sketch this all out, while driving around in the van. It was just a matter of committing it to collage. Get off my finger. There, now we got a scale hanging out outside. So we've got the hometown, we've got the scales. The beverage is going to be an inside thing, so I need to make a booth for here. I do want to sketch out where I want the booth to be. This will be the table. And that'll be the other bench. This is more just so I get the perspectives pretty decent. There'll be another bench here, but not a table. That might not make any sense for how far in the corner it is, but I don't really care. I need somewhere to put the beverage. It's going to go right there. We'll throw another couple of benches here. That. They need a table. Now my perspective's jacked. Figure it out later. Brown. I can put a table in there. I just need something brown. Or red. I think it was brown. I think it was one of those tables that had like old-timey articles and stuff. I think that's the kind of table it was. I genuinely don't remember. But I think I have some browns in here that work. It's going to be brown now. It doesn't really matter what it used to be. Nobody but me remembers it anyway. It could be orange. No, that's way too orange. No, not copper. Might have to make a table. Don't appear to have anything brown. Let's look in. Oh, hey. I had these. I have crunchy papers that might have brown in it. Oh, that could be fun. Yeah, we could use that. Turn that into a table. It wasn't what I meant when I said brown, but it'll do. there. Get that off there. I think. Yeah, good enough. This is some of that wet strength tissue paper. I was doing some gel pulls a bit ago with it. There. Now it's a tape. Alright, so what's the beverage that I want to sit on this thing? Oh, because I wanted to evoke a specific era, I wanted the beverage to be a tab. Yeah. Because like I said, this is from a very specific time frame, and tab was all the thing, all the rage at that point in time. Yeah, close enough to tab pink. That's a little dark for it, but got some other pink colors. There's a good tab pink color right there. All right, I'll make a tab out of that. It's not going to be to scale. I don't care. So round the bottom of it a little bit so it's can shaped. Round the top of it a little bit so it's can shaped. Do a whole bunch of work on it with a silver jelly roll, because it's going to need a lid. There's that. And I think it said there. Close enough. Close enough. And it needs a straw. Come on now. Whatever. Straw. What do I want to draw a straw with? I'm going to cheat on the straw. And just do it with a Foster marker. Alright, that wasn't good. Throwing stuff off my desk now. Throw that off my desk. Why a red straw? Because it was the red and white. And I'm pretty sure the straws were striped at that point in time. So, but this one's just going to get a straw. There you go. Alright. Oh, what else are we doing? What else are we doing? Alright, folks. I think this is all the longer I want this video to be. As you can see, I've got a lot more collage work to do. But I did want you to see that I am working on it. I will eventually have this collage piece done. It'll eventually have graffiti. It'll eventually have feathers. There's a lot more details I want to put into the business here. So I'm going to end the video here, and when I'm done, I will show you the finished product. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Thank you, subscriber 8. I did see that you came in. Welcome aboard. And I will see you all soon.